it would then be a negative. We'd have a negative tax increase. The supervisor's budget, once again, eliminated the tax assessor's office. Thank God we have a tax assessor. Thank God she helped me tonight explain that formula.
Yeah, she
we
happened
would
to
have
explain
lost
the formula.
the tax assessor, which by law, you need a tax assessor. It's in the town law, which means we need the tax assessor. That was being, and that, is that a phony cut or what? Then how about the tax receiver? We would have lost the tax receiver. Who would have collected the taxes? I'm sure that all of the citizens of the town of Southeast would have gladly come and just dropped some envelopes on the floor of the town of Southeast. No. We need the assessor by law, we need the receiver by law, and we voted to have a museum. We voted to continue to fund, not at the amount that they wanted, the library. And yes, we eliminated 5.5 positions, and quite frankly, at this point, you know, that was unfortunate and it was upsetting. But those 5.5 positions will remain you know, eliminated until such time that we have more money. And then we can reinstate them, which we're hoping next year. But I brought this up because when everyone now comes to the town clerk's office, and you can look at this. You can look at this and find that, and just look at your own bills. Follow the formula that was described for you tonight. And once again, unless you've had some addition or your tax increase for some, or was modified for some other reason, this is what you have. And once again, no, I agree, we shouldn't have tax increases.
Thank you, Ms. Hudak. You've
but no,
convinced me.
you're not any deputy chair. I can still speak. Councilmember Yee.
Let's
so
wrap
I'm going to keep on speaking,
on.
and I want to make certain that
late.
the town supervisor and Councilmember Yee do not
Supervisor, can we get some order
throw
here,
the
please?
proverbial sand in your eyes regarding this.
Thank you.
Okay,
And just
the
another
agenda
thing with the
item is
taxes,
employees' overtime. Is there a motion regarding employees' overtime?
All right, look, well, okay.
That was the
I just
agenda
want to say
item.
one other thing about the taxes, too, talking about tax increases. If you look at your tax bill, I think that will explain what Liz was saying. But as far as the Putnam County tax, which apparently had a 0% increase, all I know is my taxes went up $80 from the year before. So I don't know how that happened, but...
Bob, it happened because the assessments adjusted.
Right, well,
and
so it
in
wasn't
part,
a 0% increase.
That's what's the operative dynamic with respect to Ms. Hudak's specious claims.
Right.
Right.
All right,
And
so
I-
now-
Your tax bills, your tax bills.
And
there's
it's
a
not
motion.
specious.
Right.
All of you, check your own
Liz,
bills.
please.
You'll see it.
Please, we need order
Right, and
tonight.
I think that's
Let's
the
move
important
on.
thing. Everyone
With
has to
respect
look at their tax
a
bill.
motion regarding employees' overtime. Is there a motion regarding employees' overtime?
Well, going back to the employee overtime, I think what the issue was the board last year, previous town board, passed their motion that all employees, after they hit $5,000, the board would have to review their overtime going forward. That was for all town employees, except for town employees under control of the court and under the control of the highway department. What I thought we wanted to do was just so that the town board would have oversight over all town employees, including court personnel and highway personnel, to make sure the overtime was, needed, and that once they hit a $5,000 threshold, that it would have to be approved going forward. So it was just to get those two other departments in line with the rest of the town.
Thank you. Bob, my understanding is the county requires pre-approval for employee overtime. We could adopt pre-approval.
Well, I would kind of agree with that. The only thing is, in an emergency, whatever, if it starts snowing on a Saturday, I don't think the highway superintendent should be calling the town board at 3 o'clock in the morning to determine if we should be,
Right.
if it's okay to get the highway crews out to plow the roads.
As you noted, the exemption was for the highway department and the
Well, that's
courts.
what originally it was.
Right.
So you want to amend it, make your motion then?
Bob, do you have a motion?
I just think it's a good idea that we see what all employees' overtime are and just keep tabs on it. The only employee overtime we ever saw was the town employees that don't work for the highway department and don't work for the courts. I think we should see the overtime for the courts and the highway department.
So the motion back
I think
to
it should be pre-approved because obviously emergencies come up and stuff, and, the highway superintendent has to have the discretion to hire overtime, but we just want to see what's going on, that's all.
Okay, so your motion in December was that, Councilman Cullen made a motion that all departments follow what was imposed on the Recreation Department with respect to overtime and over-budget expenditures of $5,000. Did you want to make an
No,
amendment?
I don't want to,
So we're going to leave that in place.
that's what I'm fine with that.
The only department that I can
And if
think of,
em-
no, pardon me, Bob,
employees-
the only department that I can think of where overtime might be of importance is the Special Districts Department, which clears the lots for the town municipal facilities. So with respect to that, are you ready to speak to us tonight, Levon, or you want to defer it to a work session? So we can craft an overtime policy if to address these.
Okay.
Is that suitable, Bob?
That's fine.
I think it's important, too, that we understand that, and once again, I had voted against that motion, but what it sounded like to me is we were opening the door for everyone to have this kind of overtime, and perhaps particularly in this difficult budgetary time, that we can have a motion made that certain departments would be permitted to have overtime and all other departments wouldn't. There would be an overtime freeze, is what I would think is the best way to approach it, because you're by omission, by saying that we're all limited to that all departments follow what was imposed on the Recreation Department. What you're doing in essence is saying that all departments can have overtime. I would like to have a motion that says no departments other than certain departments, recreation, the court, the highway department, have overtime. But other than that, no department should have any overtime. So that's what I'd like everyone to consider. We can discuss it at a work session, but I think that would probably be the best way to keep all of our expenses in line.
Councilman, then I move we defer this item to a work session. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Item 30,
Except, no.
RFP for attorney to prepare an amicus brief in the matter of AAA versus Town of Southeast.
Yes, I
This
had...
was not my item.
Yeah, it's my item. As we all know, there was a lawsuit commenced by AAA Carting and Rubbish Removal against the town of Southeast and SanaPro doing business as Suburban Carting. There was a decision rendered by Justice Andrew O'Rourke. That decision was successfully appealed to the Second Department. That decision has now been subject to a motion for leave to appeal to the Court of Appeals, and that motion was granted. So that matter is now being considered, or will be considered, by the Court of Appeals. What happened was that this town board did not authorize the spending of any monies to enter into the Second Department appeal. That was the one that had reversed the lower court ruling of Andrew O'Rourke. But now that this is on a different level, now that we're before the Court of Appeals, which is the highest court in New York State, this is the last definitive statement that will be made as far as I am aware, and I'll defer to counsel on that, but this is the highest court, and we are named in the caption, and it is our resolution. It was a town board resolution that was passed supporting SanaPro, Suburban Carting, that at this time we enter into and we have an advertisement for a request for proposals for appellate legal services. And that is that we would be asking out there for an attorney to, if I may, to prepare and file all briefs, any motions necessary to permit us to establish what is called amicus curiae status, if that's necessary, and or prepare memoranda of law and have oral argument before the Court of Appeals. I'm asking that proposals will be received by the town clerk until 2:00 p.m. on or about a date, which I will discuss with the board members here, and that the proposal will be publicly opened and read aloud, whichever attorneys, if any, seek to do this. That is something that we need to do. Once again, a request for proposals, an RFP, does not mean that you will absolutely accept any of the proposals. You can refile, you can take somebody's bid, you can do what you please. But right now, what in reality is facing us is a deadline. The Court of Appeals establishes deadlines, and those deadlines are, as far as I know, in this particular case, are in March, which means that we would need to get somebody on board quickly and promptly to review the records and to file the application, if necessary, to establish the amicus curiae status, and then to do the rest of the work. That's why I am asking
Okay,
that
I
this
understand.
board, right now, that we file a motion, that we put the advertisement in the papers for opening of the bids, and for opening of bids, and once again, emphasize that it's important.
Well, there's a bidding process and an RFP process. They're separate.
There's, exactly, but an RFP, a request for proposals, that we receive the proposals, which are in essence bids for services, legal services. And once again, it's important that we get this moving quickly, because there are
Okay,
deadlines
what we
that are
really have-
established by the Court of Appeals.
What we really need to disclose is, your proposal is a proposal to raise taxes, which you've conceded, to harvest proceeds in order to hire an attorney to defend, because that's your position, to defend the current possessor of the municipal garbage contract, who is being paid an additional $857,115 over the low bidder, and is a client of the former law firm of Vinnie Leibel. That's outrageous on its face, and we would be better served as a municipality with the history that has already evolved to allow these two commercial interests in the private sector to, as it were, battle it out and let the Court of Appeals make their ruling without the town of Southeast entering the fray, without the town of Southeast spending money, without the town of Southeast taking sides, and on your recommendation, taking sides, as Justice O'Rourke noted, with a firm with a history of association with organized crime, in his opinion, on December 1, 2009. And that is something that we should not do, and that is an investment we should not make as a community.
And I will tell you
Is there
that
additional comment?
I would like to
the
comment.
citation,
Additional-
the cite-
Councilwoman, please.
the citation
Councilwoman,
reads
please.
AAA Carting and Rubbish
Councilwoman,
Removal,
please.
Inc. versus the town of Southeast.
And nowhere does it say we take the
That's-
side of the high bidder, or
that's us.
Santa Pro,
And
or
just remember
Suburban, or anyone else.
that the town board at that time,
Their
the
other
majority
colleagues want to
voted
speak, Liz.
3-2.
Liz,
3-2.
your
No, there was
colleagues
some
want to speak.
statements just made by you accusing me of certain, or, inferentially or
No
otherwise.
can I have the floor now?
accusation.
Thank
Speaks
you.
for itself.
No, I'm still speaking.
What we have tonight is that
The bottom line is that we are in the caption.
Go ahead,
There
Dwight.
was,
Liz, you're
there
repeating
was.
yourself
Ms.
now.
Hudak.
No, I'm not.
Ms.
Dwight
There
has the
was,
floor.
I am not. I
Dwight was
can't,
recognized.
I can't be
Hudak.
repeating
Dwight
myself
is here.
since I can't get a word out.
Thank you, Ms. Hudak.
That's
Can I
not
have the
true,
floor
Liz.
The
now?
answer,
You've had
the
the floor all
answer,
night.
the answer, no, I
Please
have
wrap
not.
it up,
The
so
answer
others may
is
have.
that there
Somebody
is,
could.
if it just stopped interrupting me, I'd get the words out.
I'm
The
gonna be
answer
here all
is
night.
that we have an interest in this litigation because we are the town. Amongst other issues which may be raised, is my recollection is that we received some kind of a letter, I believe, Counsel, Mr. Stevens, that I believe that we may have received a letter from the AAA.
Shortly after the Court of Appeals granted leave to appeal to the High Court, there was a letter that was received by my office, which was authored by...
Could you go into that?
Excuse me, which was authored by the attorney for AAA carting and rubbish removal, essentially making the argument or the threat, if you will, that once they are successful in overturning the Appellate Division Second Department, that they will be seeking damages against the town of Southeast.
So they would be seeking, in other words, sue us. So if they were successful in the Court of Appeals, they would then sue the town of Southeast. Is that the sum and substance?
In essence.
So what would happen then is, when we say it's between two Carters, it isn't between two Carters. We're in the caption, and quite frankly, if indeed what is being stated in the letter comes to fruition, then at that point, we are now exposed